Morning, ladies, and welcome to Facebook Live Friday. My name is Heather Petherick, and I'm the soul and sass behind our private Facebook group for female business leaders of style, wit, and substance. If you are joining me for the first time, post a thumbs up or a heart in the comments below. I am so glad that you are here today. Today, ladies, we are talking about this incredibly defeating false belief that we operate under in our careers and in our businesses. And here it is. The idea that we are our business. Now, I would love, if that resonates with you, if I would love for you to post a 1 in the comments below if you feel like you are your business. You define yourself by the business you run or the title that you carry in your career. Post a 1 in the comments. And there's a sneaky litmus test that there is if, hey Brandy, thanks for being here. There's a sneaky litmus test that we can do right now to determine if you fall prey to this false belief, okay? So first off, here's the litmus test. When you go to a social event, be it a party, hey, good morning, Brandy, a party or a dinner out or a networking event, and you are meeting people for the first time, here's your litmus test. When someone asks you, what do you do for a living? Or what work do you do? What do you say? Do you say something like, I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm a, fill in your job title. I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, I'm a CFO, I'm a managing partner. I am X. Is that what you say? And if it is, then I'm sorry, honey, but you are defining yourself based on what you do for a living. And that is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for self-torture, and I want to talk about that today. Randy says, so funny, I was thinking about this exactly yesterday. Right? Woo, we are like connected. Awesome. Okay, so if you feel like, yes, I define myself based on what I do for a living. Hey, Jenny. If you say, I'm an entrepreneur, and you use that as a badge of honor, right? It is your title in life. It's the flag that you have planted. It is who you are, and it defines how you feel about yourself. Then I want to caution you very carefully that is a slippery slope and a recipe for self-torture. So let's talk about that. I call it one of the most damaging false beliefs that we can operate under as women business leaders. Whether you are on the corporate side, managing and leading the way for a business, or whether you are an entrepreneur building, growing, and nurturing your dream, it does not matter. When we operate under this false belief that we are our business or we are our title, it's a recipe for self-torture. You know, I see so many talented women define themselves by their business. You know, I am an entrepreneur, I am a managing director. And we see ourselves as our business. And when we do, it puts our self-worth and our confidence on thin ice. Because if the business isn't doing well, then it means we're a pile of steaming dog poo, right? If we aren't seeing the results that we want, if the money's not coming, if the team isn't growing, if sales aren't rocketing, and we are our business or our organization, then who are we? We are failing. We're not good enough. We're not working hard enough. We're not smart enough. Maybe we're not even meant for this. See what I mean by this recipe for self-torture? Jen says, what do you say when someone asks you that question? Ooh, very good. We're going to get to that in a minute, Jen. I love it. So your brain works faster than my mouth. Awesome. Hold that thought. So, and one of the other alarming things is if you constantly, here's another litmus test. If you're constantly checking your bank balance or the balance sheet on your organization, and you get that sinking feeling like, oh my God, the money isn't there, or that's not a big enough number, it's because you're using those numbers as a barometer for your self-worth. Jen, I'm kidding. Okay, I'm going to stop reading your comments, Jen, because this is distracting. Hi, Chantel. Thanks for being here. I haven't seen you in a while. Love that you're here on a Friday. Yeah, if your bank balance is not a barometer measure for your self-worth, potential, and your impact. But so often in our business, we walk down this slippery slope of thinking we are our business. And this is particularly prone if we are a business of self, if you are an independent professional, right? If you are a financial planner, a real estate agent, a lawyer, anything where you are your own agent, you have your own book of business, right? If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, anything of that ilk. This is one of the biggest traps that we can fall into, is thinking that we are the business. Ergo, the financial health of the business is a direct correlation to our self-worth, value, and potential. False belief, recipe for disaster, and self-torture. So I want to ask you this question. Hey, Tracy, thanks for being here. Ask you this one question. Riddle me this. Who are you without the business? Who are you? If you are not an entrepreneur or a business owner, who are you? If you are not your even house, right? If you take a great deal of pride in where you live, who are you without that house? If you're really proud of the car that you drive or any other superficial possession, and that were to be taken away from you, who are you without those things? Who are you without even some of the relationships you hold dear and near to your heart? Who are you without the marriage that you carry and wear? Who are you beyond your children if you define yourself as a mother? So this goes well beyond the realms of business and finance and money making. This is a question for all women business leaders. How do you define yourself? What do you hinge your self-worth on? Is it your title? Is it your home? Is it your postal code? Is it where your office is? Is it the size and savviness of your network? Is it the vacations that you take? Is it the car that you drive? Is it the stylish clothes that you wear? How do you define your self-worth? Now, for many women business leaders, one of our core self-worth drivers is what we do for a living, right? And I think this is very common among men as well. But who are you without your business? That's my central question for you. And here's the thing. If that question sends shivers down your spine or creates this sense of nausea in your guts, it's because you are hinging far too much of your self-worth on something that really at the end of the day does not matter and does not equate to who you are as a human being. Now, here's the thing. If you draw a blank or have a sense of panic about who am I without my business, how would I define myself, how would I introduce myself to strangers, it's a litmus test to tell you that you're going down a slippery slope, honey, and it's a recipe for self-torture. The truth is, if the false belief is that we are our business or our bank account or any other superficial item in life, the real truth is that you are so much more. You are more than your business. You are more than your relationships. You are more than the car that you drive and the clothes that you wear. If all of those things were removed in an instant, right? If in one moment you won the lottery and money in business was no longer a pressure or factor, who would you be? Or try this scenario on. If, other side of the scenario, what if you lost it all? What if your business collapsed, you lost your home, you went bankrupt, you had nothing? Who would you be? How would you define yourself? Or another great scenario, if you are married with a spouse who's also a career... Sorry, someone just trying to phone me. Speaking of spouses, what if your spouse suddenly got a job in a foreign country and you were no longer qualified or you couldn't actually hold down a job in that foreign country because of immigration laws? Who would you be? How would you define yourself? The truth is that beyond your job, your title, and your bank balance, you are so much more than all of that. But when we set ourselves up to think we are our business and our bank balance, when we define ourselves in these small boxes, right? a job title, a bank balance, a business. When we restrict who we are by this tight little box, we limit our potential. And we strive to fill that small space. And at the same time, we pinch off our creativity, our impact, our passion for what we're doing, and our potential for what we can do. You know, when we define ourselves based on a business and the health of that business, we set ourselves up on a treadmill that never stops. We start running a race that we will never end. We start, what did I say? We start living a nightmare we cannot escape, because we are so much more than those small categories, titles, and balance sheets. The point of exploding this false belief that we are our business, when the truth really is that as women business leaders, we are so much more. We are mothers, daughters, wives, business people, community leaders, friends. We are unlimited beings of potential and impact and love. But when we wrongly define ourselves in these little categories by these little businesses, we pinch off our creativity and our impact, and we hinge our self-worth on the opinions of others and the size of our bank balance and the judgment of other people and how slick our marketing material is and how big our social media following is or is not, or the size of our garage. We hinge our self-worth on all this bullshit, superficial things, and we torture ourselves when instead we need to realize that we are so much more. The point of exploding this false self-belief is that it is something that tortures us as women, and it keeps us playing so small. We're afraid to risk rocking the boat or looking foolish. But it's really a call out for all of us. If we can drop this false belief, we can sink into the knowing that we are so much more. And when we do, there's this magical thing that happens, right? Call it being a Zen master of business. I call it being an unshakable business leader. But this magical thing happens when we pitch this false belief and realize we are actually so much bigger than any of these things, so much more powerful and resilient. We begin to play. We begin to play in our business and in our lives. We begin to take risks because we're not as attached to the outcomes. We're not afraid of someone saying, that didn't work, or boy, you looked funny, or the results weren't there. We're not afraid by being defeated or found out as not being perfect. We begin to play, we begin to stretch, we get to grow and risk. And that is when we truly start to make a beautiful impact. It really is this counterintuitive, there's this story when I keep thinking about when you are learning to box, and I'm no boxer, but I'm a fan of boxing movies. Boxing instructors will often say it's so counterintuitive that when a guy is coming at you with a left hook, you actually need to lean in, and that throws him off. That's the same thing. When we think that our value and our self-worth is our bank balance, our business, and our title, it makes us lean back and restrict and not risk and strangle activities because we're afraid that if that goes down, if that's not perfect, then who are we? When the truth is that we are so much more than that. When we bust through that false belief and realize our power, we lean in. We risk, we become creative, we become impactful, we become magnetic for all of the people and resources we truly have been striving for. So this is a call out for you to begin to play in your business instead of strangling, instead of grinding it out. We glamorize the doing it all and the hustle hard and the busy brag. We need to drop those false beliefs and realize that we are so much more. We need to begin to play at life, begin to play in our business. And when we do, the real results start coming. We really tap into our personal power, our creativity, and our impact. Tracy says, I had to get intimate with this question. Hold on. Over the past year, I discovered I am a curious, resilient woman who loves conversation that stimulates the soul. Yes, and none of that relates or is bound by your business title, your business's name, or your bank balance. You are so much more than that. Boom. Thank you, Tracy. Perfect example. Jen, read that. Shahina, thanks for being here. So here's my question for you ladies. Number one, recognize the litmus test. If you define yourself based on your business, if you get like the sweaty nervousness by thinking, if I didn't have this business, or if I didn't have this title, who would I be? Then it means you really need to lean into this question. And number two, what are you hinging your self-worth on? Bank balance, business title, where you live, how big your home is, how stylish you look. Those are all BS superficial things that are keeping you in a box and having you strangle all of your activity. So my questions to you then are these 3 humdingas for you ladies today to ponder on this Facebook Live Friday. Number one, in your business, to get to a sense of play and realize you are so much bigger, I want you to think about, how can you carry the business lightly? How can you make this fun again? And how can you stay in action without torturing yourself and attaching to the outcomes? Those are my 3 questions for you. I'm going to give them to you again. Number one, how can you carry this lightly? Whatever you are shooting for in your business, and don't get me wrong here, I love focus, action, and effort in our business. But when that becomes not just playful action and creativity and possibility, but when it comes a grind, a hustle, a relentless struggle, then we've gone too far and we've hinged our self-worth on something that we shouldn't be. So how can you carry this business lightly? Number 2, how can you stay in action in your business but not attached to the outcomes? And number 3, how can you simply make this fun again? When you anchor into the answers to those questions, you tap into creativity and real power and magnetism in your business, instead of grinding and torturing yourself to death, which is never going to bring the results that you want. Doesn't matter how slick your tactics or how fancy your marketing. If the energy behind your action is grinding, hustling, and struggle, then you're just going to get more of that. Personal example, a couple of things. I've been having conversations with many of the women in my Unshakable Business Leaders program, private mentorship and mastermind program. And it occurs to me, of women I've talked to, this happens so easily. I know a woman in particular who is a lawyer, and for a long time in her business, it has been held over her head like a big stick that she beats herself with. What are my billable hours? What are my billable hours? Am I going to make my quota this month? And it becomes this struggle and this grind. Instead of realizing that she is so much bigger than her billable hours, the number on the spreadsheet at the end of the month. I'm thinking of another woman who is a financial planner, who is an independent professional. And for years, she has been holding this beating stick over her head that, if I go bankrupt, I can't do this job anymore, right? What happens if I go bankrupt? And the reality is she is so far from that ever happening, and yet she continues to torture herself every month. What if I go bankrupt, right? Anybody in the financial services industry, you know what that feels like, right? That looming threat that you've got to keep your financial house in order or you can't do this job anymore. We torture ourselves with these external indicators. For myself personally, for a long time in my business, I used to torture myself. I'd set these lofty goals at the beginning of the month. And with every passing day, I looked at that goal. And if I wasn't on pace, I started, over the days in that month, I started to feel increasingly more like a steaming heap of dog poo because I wasn't meeting my goal. All the while discrediting and dismissing all of the fantastic, consistent effort I was doing to reach out, to impact women's lives, and to make a difference. So when we hinge our self-worth on these external measures, we rob the creativity, the passion, and the true juice of why we got into this business in the first place. when we hold on to this false belief that we are our business, and if it's failing, so must we be, it is actually criminal what we do to ourselves, right? I'm thinking of a colleague who calls this the mind F, right? We do this mind F, you know what I mean, on ourselves, and it absolutely pulls the plug on the impact we can make. Hey, Sarah, thanks for being here. So ladies, that's what I wanted to share with you today really quickly, is one of the worst false beliefs we can carry as women business leaders, that we define ourselves and our success based on our title or our bank balance. And that really is a recipe for self-torture. So those are my 3 questions for you today to become Zen masters of business, or as I call it, becoming an unshakable business leader, is how can I carry this lightly? How can I make this fun again? And how can I stay in action without attaching to the outcomes? Would love to know your thoughts and reactions to our discussion today. I'm going to jump off real quickly because I know my husband is trying to get a hold of me. And I'm going to go carry Friday lightly and make this day fun. I hope you will too. Thanks for being here and giving me your time. Post your comments and questions below. I will respond throughout the day. Thanks, loves. Have a great Friday.